Good afternoon. It is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019, and this is our second installment of a 5-minute or so recap of what we did in American history class today. As you know, we're entering a new unit and we're studying the emergence of the United States as a global power. This is the second of 4 major threads of history in our thematic approach to our study of our country and the role that we play in the world. We're focusing now on the decisions to go from a small regional power to a massive global power backed up by military strength around the world. What decisions we took to make that all happen. And not only policy decisions, but what did we actually have to do to accomplish our task. We first started off our last class with how do you define success of an empire. Had some great suggestions you put into your organizer. That was the subject of last class's video. And then we answered the questions. We took a interpretive approach to how to interpret these two pictures. How does this reflect the evolution of the United States from a regional power, a Western Hemisphere power, to a massive technologically advanced global power, and what we had to amass in order to do that, such as an educational system, science, technology, a large industrial base, and of course, the economics and the money it took to build something as massive of a military power as we have done. We will trace that not only for our country, but what Japan had to do, and China, and England, and Russia, and Germany during the 1940s. All these empires had similar experiences in making the decision to direct its resources towards global domination. In today's class, we really did focus in on what we had to do at home to secure our base of operation before we could move on to the international scene. The first thing we made sure we had to do was to secure our eastern border, and that was sort of easy to do because we had 13 colonies here, that we made sure that we had ports, that major cities were on rivers, so we could take our products from inside the 13 colonies into ports in order to trade to Europe. We needed the trade, of course, of industrial goods, agricultural goods to produce the money to expand westward. We wanted area for our population to expand. We wanted our resources. We wanted to make sure we had food, all sorts of minerals and gold and timber, and plenty of land for our growing population. That wasn't enough, of course, because we wanted to make sure our nation was secure on the West Coast. So we, through war, the Mexican-American War, through purchasing the Louisiana Purchase, and through agreements for the northwestern part of the United States, we secured the West Coast. So now we had achieved not only security and trading ability on the East Coast, but we secured our access to the West Coast ports, which led us to trade to Asia. That led us into the Great White Fleet and all our journeys to Hawaii and the Philippines that will be the topic of another day. We also secured a major water port access of New Orleans, which harnessed the Mississippi River, so we could take all the goods and all the products, all the natural resources we want to trade to other countries and use New Orleans as a port to set that trade off to either Europe or to Asia. Okay. The downside of all this, of course, was we had to displace Native Americans in a not so gentle way. We'll discuss the policy decisions and how we went about securing the landmass which covered the oil fields and the gold fields, the railroads that we had to build, and all the settlements that came into securing the American continent. Once we discussed that, we then moved on to a video which is in your packet of material that also restates the how we became a nation and how geography played a huge role in our success. So I recommend that you take a look at that video. And then we took a look at this cartoon and how it reflected the mindset of the United States in 1898, just at the turn of the century. You have the American eagle, which is the symbol of our country. United States, here's our borders all secured. And you had one tip of the eagle of the wing and firmly in Europe. You had the other tip all the way in Asia, Hawaii, the Philippines, Manila. You had Puerto Rico, and you had the sun of the rising empires, a very common symbol of empires around the world. And we interpreted this as to what the mindset of the United States was. It was no secret that in 1898, according to the Philadelphia Press, the political cartoon reflected the priorities of the United States. And then we took a quick look at similar empires, what they had in common with the American landmass geography. You had the Roman Empire. We're going to take a look at the Ottoman Empire, which is the Mediterranean up into southern Europe, all the way to what's now Iran and Iraq, Israel, Syria, Turkey, the expansion of Russia. And then we'll take a look at, in 1914, the state of global colonization by those nations that wanted to expand globally. The problem with this policy of expansion is that more than one country wanted to do it. You can see in 1914, just as World War I was breaking out, a lot of countries were now competing. France, Russia, England, Spain, Italy, the United States, all competing for a very limited pie called Mother Earth. And the thing that made this even more dangerous was that we were getting into the industrial era where you had industrialized war. And that brought about World War I and World War II, only to come to an end when the nuclear era began. So that's what we covered today. I'll see you next class, and hopefully this was helpful in just reviewing what we covered in our class on Wednesday/Thursday, the red day folks, the white day folks. Okay? See you. Hope you enjoyed. Please provide me with your feedback, comments. Once I get those, I try to improve every video recap session. Have a great day. See you next class.